Welcome to the No Regrets Leadership Podcast, where leaders are empowered to equip and disciple men.
Well, welcome to the No Regrets Leadership Podcast, and my name is Steve Sonderman. I'm going to be your host for today. And guys, as you know, the main purpose of this podcast is to equip you, to encourage you, just to provide tools on a weekly basis that you can use to more effectively minister to the men in your sphere of influence, whether that's at work, in your neighborhood, at the club, in your church community, wherever it is. We know that each one of you is surrounded by lots of men, and we want to help you to reach them, to root them, and release them for kingdom impact. My special guest today is Vince Miller from Resolute Ministries. Vince was on our show about a year ago now, and we talked a lot about how to start small groups and get things going. And Vince has a wonderful ministry of speaking at conferences and retreats, training, and developing unbelievable curriculum for small groups. And so we're going to be linking that by the show notes here. And so, guys, if you're looking for some good curriculum, Vince will be talking about that later. But I know it's good stuff that your small groups will just love to use and really take them deeper with Jesus. So, hey, Vince, thanks so much for being with us today.
You bet, Steve. Thanks for having me, and all the guys listening too, man. It's great.
Well, it's been a while, about a year, I guess now, since we last had a chance to talk on the podcast. And so why don't you just bring the listeners up to speed a little bit of what you've been up to and how the year went for you and sort of what you've been working on.
Yeah, thank you. So moved all my kids out of the house over the last year. That was great. So I'm an empty nester and loving that. Everybody should do that.
Yeah, I agree totally.
Number two, been working on some, listeners probably know this, but I write daily devotionals for men that people listen to on video, audio, and a written format. But I've been working with a publisher, David C. Cook, to put a lot of those into a book format. And so you're going to start to see, that's one of the things we've been working on this last year is short 30-day devotionals on every book of the Bible. That's my goal. And, people who typically listen to me understand that I do them daily through various books, but I'm hoping one day to have a library of 30-day devotionals for men all the way through the Bible. That would be great.
That would be great. I think guys love those type of devotionals, and I think that'll just be really helpful. Do you have any idea when the first one might be coming out, or still a little early?
September 1st, man, right at the beginning of the school year. September 1st, you'll see one on Proverbs, then you'll see one on 1 Timothy, and then Daniel. Those will be the first three, and then we'll just keep chasing them down.
Yeah. Oh. Well, there's a lot of content there, a lot for you to do. So good luck on that. That is wonderful.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Anything else? What else has been going on? Anything else?
We have, I have a 3-part curriculum that I'm coming out with in the next year, and it's going to guide kind of men like that men's fraternity curriculum did years ago with Robert Lewis. I'm going to have a 3-part curriculum that'll take guys through a year or so of content that directly speaks to men, keeps it simple, and takes some of the best stuff that I've developed over the years and drives them into conversations. We're still unveiling that through David C. Cook, and I'm super excited about the videos and the handbooks that'll go with that. So there you go.
Good. Oh, I am so glad, because I know groups are always looking for content. I mean, that's probably the question I get the most. What should we do next? We just finished this, and what else is out there? And, Vince, I just feel so good about your stuff, so comfortable. I've read through a lot of it. So it's just very easy for me to recommend you and your stuff. And again, we encourage the guys to go to your website and see everything you're doing. Last time we talked a lot about how to start a group. And I'll tell you, that was so helpful. I use it all the time, and I always give you credit, but it's, just find some guys, find a date, and pick the content. And those 3 points, man, it's just so easy. I would love us to take it to the next step now. Could today talk about, okay, how do I actually lead that group once I've got it started? So I'm just going to break it down. First meeting, leader's probably a little bit nervous. The guys coming are a little bit nervous. How do you prepare, and what do you do to sort of get things rolling?
Yeah, perfect question. And this is important, by the way, guys, because I think people often overcomplicate this thing and then never take a first step, right? They convince themselves not to do anything because they're unsure of what to do. And especially, Steve, I think when it comes to things of a spiritual nature, guys so quickly disqualify themselves that they won't take the step and they won't do the first step. And so that's what they really got to do is they got to have a first meeting. That's the first step. And usually in that meeting, what you really want to do is you want to introduce yourself, cast a little vision for the time, and kind of help guys to understand where you're going to go with this thing. If you don't cast a vision for it, they're not going to know because if you just treat this like you would any business meeting at your workplace, just think about what they want to know. They want to know why they're there, what they're going to do, how they're going to accomplish that, and what's going to be different at the end of that study. I mean, if we just did those 4 things right there, guys would be excited about being there. But sometimes these Christian small groups or small group studies or mentorship opportunities we're super unclear about what we're trying to accomplish. And then we just dig into like doing the meeting. And then guys are kind of going, well, why am I here again? How long is this going to last? Eternity. And we're going to discuss theological concepts I don't understand. And, then everything gets off whack and people get confused. So you just got to start with simple things like tell them the vision, why they're there, what you're going to do, and how you're going to be different at the end of that time. If we did those 4 things, man, guys would probably really enjoy coming to our weekly meetings, right?
Yeah, I think especially with guys, they want clarity. What am I getting involved in? Like you said, how long is this going for? What are we going to do? I love those 4 questions, or not 4 questions really, but just 4 things to cover because guys need that. They're looking for that.
Yeah. You just got to think about like, okay, this guy's coming. He doesn't know any of the guys there. We're in a strange environment. Like treat them like they're lost souls, trying to figure out where in the living world are we going, and then point them there. I mean, this is anything you would do with a customer or a client or an employee. Just help them to connect the dots, and that's really all you got to do.
What have you done in those early meetings to help the guys get to know each other and sort of develop the trust and because it doesn't just come naturally? What would you suggest for the guys on that?
Yeah, absolutely. It is an awkward first date if you can think about it that way. Guys kind of tiptoe into this experience. They don't know people there. They don't know what the rules are. So really in that first meeting, you almost got to lay down the law a little bit on what this is going to look like. And obviously, one of the first things you got to do is you got to introduce everybody to everybody. I mean, a little bit about themselves. I think that first meeting is always consumed with relationships, right? People getting to know one another. You might not even get to the content. You might just cast a vision for the content in the first meeting. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, here's who I am. Here's what I do. Just like you started our meeting today, just here's who I am. Here's what I do. Here's what's going on in my life. Now, next, you go and you kind of model it and then let them go and kind of go around the circle. And that'll consume a good 60 to 90 minutes, depending on how many guys you have in a group. But it doesn't really matter. What you want them to know is not only God and the content, but each other. And it's the relationships that are going to carry this forward. If they just come for information, there's never going to be transformation. There's never going to be relationships or community. So you got to focus on that from the start and just let go of all your expectations that you're going to get through a lot of content in the first meeting. After that, then you kind of lay down the law a little bit on how this is going to work, and kind of give them some rules for engagement, some expectations, so they kind of understand what to do. And then you need to model that consistently throughout the duration of the group.
Okay, so laws or rules for engagement. I love that phrase. Break that down for us. Maybe give us a couple examples of what you mean by that, what that might look like. Again, just not assuming that these guys know what you mean.
Yeah, like here, I'll give you a few. Like, we're going to start on time. We're going to end on time. Guys like that kind of rule, right?
Yeah.
Well, we're always going to read from the Bible. There's another rule. We're going to be confidential in this experience as guys begin to share, because there might be things that threaten that confidentiality. We're going to get to practical application. It's not just a study that's going to make us feel good in our heads. We're going to try to move it into application. Those would be some
Yeah.
It had a lot of different rules depending on the environment. And of course, I've led literally hundreds of groups. And I will tell you, I can kind of pick up on these things right away, but you have to establish for yourself what those rules or covenants are inside of that time. I'm a stickler for some of those things. Like for me, I want to start on time and end on time because I know guys are busy, right? It doesn't matter what it is. Or if you're a little bit more of a social group, we're going to start on time, but we're going to stay here into perpetuity until anybody wants to leave. Just leave whenever you want. And you can establish whatever those rules are, but kind of lay down the law on it so that your expectations are met. And also everybody else knows what those expectations are, because the leader really gets to determine what those might be in any group setting. And sometimes those expectations include and exclude certain people, right? Like if you're a meeting that's going to be into perpetuity through the night, some guys might say, well, that's not really the group for me. But, if they say it's going to start on time and end on time, then that means I'm able to get to work on time if it's in the morning, or I'm able to get home on time to care for my family. So that's up to the group and the group leader, of course.
Again, I don't want to get too far in the weeds on this, but just practically from your experience, as far as the length for most men, I know we're generalizing here, but what have you found to be a good length for a men's small group?
Yeah, I think 60 to 90 minutes. That's about That's about all I can tolerate personally.
Yeah.
There are groups that will continue much longer than that. I get it. And but for me, I'm going to get to the core of the content and the relationship and kind of get to next level with the Bible, with friendships, and even with the things that I want to share inside of that 60 to 90 minute range.
Yeah, I think that's good. I like that. So another area I'd like to just to get your insight on, Vince, is that I've been thinking a lot recently about, in ministry to men, we're sort of designers of environment. We're creators of an environment where men can share and be open and develop friendship and get to know Jesus better. How does a leader develop an environment for men? And what does that environment look like where a guy can feel safe to share and discuss and open up? Maybe it's two different questions. What does the environment like?
I think it's good. I think your questions are great. In fact, here's how I've always kind of labeled it in my mind, and you can beg, borrow, and steal this acrostic. It's HOT, which stands for honest, open, and transparent, or I call it hot men. Don't take that too far. Hot men, and I think inside of an environment, what we're trying to do to build community is to have men be honest, open, and transparent. That's it. Honesty, openness, and transparency. And the only way to really experience life change in an environment is to establish a community, relationships that do those things. And the way that we model that is by being honest and open and transparent myself. I think people are often shocked at how honest, open, and transparent I am, but I've learned that I have nothing to hide. And if I have nothing to hide, I can easily admit I don't understand how to do something, or I can easily admit that I was challenged by this today, or I can share those things in an environment, and it allows, guess what, the community itself to minister to me and to others. The most transformative groups, Steve, I have ever had are the ones that I have confessed sin in, blown it, and corrected myself. Those environments are more they do more teaching than actually studying the Bible itself, because then people get to see how I respond to that tension and then anxiety, and it builds a sense of community around that experience. And so what you're talking about today, I think, is a very important topic. It's how do we foster an environment around men where they can do those things? Well, the first thing you got to do is you got to understand how to do it yourself. Because as I said to you last time, I think, and I say this all the time, men have an ABT issue. They ain't been taught. And because they ain't been taught, they don't know how to address these things. And because they don't know how to address these things, we have to model it. That's the only way they're going to learn. And walking in the Spirit requires us to model that very specific thing, how to be honest, open, and transparent. And they're going to learn by seeing us do it, because it's not a tangible thing. It's something that you do with your mind and your heart and your mouth, and you have to see it, hear it, to really experience it and know how to do it. So I think this is important. I think a lot of men's groups focus too much on information, too much on education, too much on application sometimes, without actually allowing these things to happen within the group, even pausing, by the way, when someone is vulnerable or open or honest or whatever it is. And then you say, thank you. That is what the group needed to hear and see today. Thanks for modeling that, and then give them positive rewards for doing it as well.
Men, our heart here at No Regrets is to see a spiritual awakening among men and to empower them to be leaders in their home, church, workplace, and world, and to develop and grow men's ministries in churches across the street and around the globe. And you guys are the ones that can make that dream a reality. To make a one-time gift or become a monthly donor, visit our website at menwithnoregrets.org/give and make an eternal impact today.
Vince, I think that is key to everything here, is that I know I've had so many leaders over the years that'll come to me and they'll say, well, Steve, my group's not opening up, or they're not being transparent. And I'll say, my initial response is, well, how open are you being? And I said, have you really shared? Have you been open? And if not, don't expect them to be if you're not. I mean, sort of speed of the leader, speed of the team type thing. And so we have to model it and walk it ourselves. And so I think, boy, that's a great point.
Yeah, I mean, you just think about the kind of old idealistic view on masculinity. It was everything but that. I think in today's culture, we're much more accepting of this in certain respects, I think. But, even for me, is I listen to the average pastor speaking today. I think they have a hard time with this. So they've never actually, if our only experience with church is modeled by a occasional Sunday service where we don't see transparency, then do you think men are ever going to learn how to do that spiritually? Of course not. So the small group environment might be the first opportunity to see that. The sooner you do it, the better off you will be. And the sooner that community will discover another level of engagement, like you're calling it, a spiritual connection that, by the way, is hard to rip apart. Like once guys experience that, they want more of it. And you can't really unsee it once you see it. So
right. Yeah, no, exactly. And I think, like you said, we're so quick to want to go to the content. And maybe they came for the content, but they're going to stay for the community, right? Because of those relationships that have been established. So that's and it takes work. You just got to keep working at that. So okay, we're starting to get to know each other, starting to build the community. What would be just a couple ideas on facilitating the discussion? And are there any, some principles or key things for guys to keep in mind when trying to do that, maybe around some content or a Bible study, whatever they're doing?
Yeah, absolutely. I think where you start is very important. Like, I think sometimes men who are leading groups, they default to teaching and to education. And the reason why they do it is because they think they need to consume 60 to 90 minutes of time. So what they'll typically do is they'll take a sermon or something of that nature and play a video for 45 minutes, which, by the way, kills the opportunity completely to be able to create an environment where discussion can happen. At every one of my retreats, or every one of the groups I lead, or every one of my experiences or excursions that I take, I actually allow men to talk far more than I talk to them. In fact, I allow twice as much time for them to talk to each other than I talk to them. Basically, what I'm doing is I'm setting up the platter for them to have a dynamic discussion. So what I am doing is saying, there's probably going to be, let's say 60 minutes, okay? There's probably going to be about 10 to 15 minutes of teaching or of reading scripture or study of scripture or whatever it is we're doing. There's only going to be about 10 to 15 minutes of that, because I want to have 45 minutes of discussion. Because if you think about it, if if someone shares a testimony or a moment, it's going to take them 5 minutes to just land on what that is. I mean, you and I have already talked for actually quite a bit here. I mean, 20 minutes almost already. And you just think about how much time it consumes. But these guys, they need to be talking to each other, because that's where scripture and the teaching comes to life, is in them communicating to one another and letting the ministry of the group and the ministry of the Spirit begin to happen within that group. If all you're doing is teaching, you never get to that moment where the Spirit begins to work through the text and work through other men to each other. And then you've kind of got to steward, you got to have a mind to say, I'm just going to steward the boundaries of this experience. That's all I'm doing. I'm driving out here. I'm drawing guys in here. I'm trying to keep guys quiet over here.
Right.
I'm just stewarding the environment. And that is fun, because facilitating is way more fun, I think, than actually teaching.
Yeah, for sure. And then to see them, discussing themselves among themselves and learning from each other, like you said, but then also discovering as you're going through a passage. And so they're getting to the point where they're discovering the truths for themselves, and how exciting that is for them, rather than just being told. You can just see the light bulbs going off, and then they're going to want to be in the scripture on their own as well. There's so many wins in that.
Yeah, well, I know guys like you and me, we're teachers, right? So, but when I get in a group, I change. Like I'll do a little bit of teaching, but it is my greatest joy to turn off that teaching and then watch the Spirit move, where you're just kind of like, you see a guy off in the corner and you invite a question to him, an open-ended question, like, what are you thinking right now about this text? Or you see a guy who's talking too much and you just say, hey, thanks, brother. We've heard enough for you, but I really want to hear from some of these other guys. Where are you guys at? And then all of a sudden you realize that in your group, you've got CEOs and CFOs, you've got finance guys, you've got salespeople, you've got drywall guys and plumbers. And all of a sudden they see stuff in the text that you've never seen before. And no longer are you the teacher. God is the teacher. The Bible is the context, and their lives and experiences at a dynamic there, where all of a sudden you see the foundation parable, that short little parable at the end of the Sermon on the Mount. And you got a builder in the room, and he sees something there that you've never seen before as a teacher. And he kind of goes, I've been through this. The foundation is important, because the house ain't plumb. You know what I mean? Yeah, all of a sudden he sees something and you just get excited about it, because all of a sudden the Spirit becomes a teacher. And the group, and that was a huge awakening to me, probably about 20 years ago when I was leading group. I thought I was a teacher, and all of a sudden I realized there were teachers sitting in this group vividly teaching me through the text. And that is when a group is fun, right there.
That is it. And there is so much joy in seeing that. It's almost like a leader. It's the same type of feeling when you have as a leader, when you're developing others and you see them now leading in their place. It's the same sense of fulfillment. And as a small group leader, that's what we want, that fulfillment that comes from seeing others learning and discovering and discussing. It's a great thing.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah. So I know this seem simple, or we're taking some stuff for granted here, but what have you found helpful outside the group to strengthen the relationships? Because a small group is much more than just what happens for those 60 minutes, let's say, on Wednesday mornings or Wednesday nights. Vince, what have you done over the years, and what have you seen happen that's been helpful to really, help gel the group outside, that really takes it to that next level?
Yeah. So there's all kinds of ideas that people usually present when asked this particular question, such as service project, mission trips, work at a local food shelf, work on old ladies' cars, whatever it is. But I'm gonna give you guys something different today that I think is actually even more beneficial, that takes responsibility off the group leader. All right. It's encourage the guys, not you, not the leader. Encourage the guys to minister to one another outside of the group. It's as simple as that. Like, ask them or challenge them to check in with one another, to pray with one another, to mentor one another, to get to know each other's families, to participate in an aspect of ministry outside of the group together, and hold that group experience very loosely. Sometimes I think we think about groups as, hey, we're trying to only build our little environment here, and we want all the dividends to be for us. But I think we really need to be open-handed with this thing and encourage guys, and even celebrate when they do that. For example, if one of my guys in my group goes over to another guy's house and brings them dinner at the loss of a loved one, I should celebrate that. Like, that's the glue right there, that they initiated it on their own, that it didn't involve me, that I didn't have to plan something again, right, to kind of force the community to behave. When they start doing stuff like that outside the group, then they own the idea. Or if a man out of that group decides that he wants to lead his own group, then boom, I'm super excited. Like, that's where I get super excited. I'm like, great. Now, does that mean I'm going to lose something? Yeah, I'm going to lose somebody in my group, but the kingdom gains something significant, and we've got to kind of push and encourage guys to that outward momentum, right? Where they're beginning to engage in the ministry that is their own. Yeah. And that's when it gets fun. Or, say a guy starts leading a Bible study at work and he can't attend our group anymore because, man, dude, that is awesome. So I'm constantly throwing those ideas out there, pushing men toward that, and pushing responsibility toward them, not me. Yeah. And, because they're going to catch, if it's good inside the group, they're going to want more of it. And the only way to get more is for them to become a servant and a leader in the kingdom. And so that's what I would encourage, is activities like that.
Great. That's a wonderful, wonderful principle, because what it does is, it, like you said, it gives them responsibility, takes it off of you. And now you're training them, preparing them to serve, to lead their own group or in another area of ministry or whatever. But it's preparing them to do that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, listen, Vince, like you said, this has gone so fast. I can't believe how fast this time has gone. We've covered just some incredible things. I've already got ideas for our next time together. We're just, I don't even want to get into it right now, because I know it's going to be another podcast. But so you've mentioned a couple different things on here. Could you please tell the guys how they can learn more about your ministry and the various things, like the devotions, the Bible studies, the different things you have there for them?
Yeah, absolutely. So the easiest way to find me is my name, first and last name, vincemiller.com, vincemiller.com. That's the easiest way to get to my website. On my website, my most popular read, hands down, is the men's daily devotional. I have about 100,000 plus subscribers every day that listen, read, watch. My daily devotionals are always short, sweet, to the point, and they're made for men, always speaking to our culture and our issues. Right now, we're going through the Gospel of John. I just do one book at a time. So I'm actually teaching guys how to study inductively. Also on my website, there are a number of other resources, such as men's studies done by book or video. If guys have a Right Now Media account, they can probably see, I think, about a third of my video studies. You just got to go to my name on Right Now Media. And that's it, man. So basically devotionals and Bible studies for guys. That's what I focus on, Steve.
Good. And it's just vincemiller.com or .org?
.com. Yeah, you got it.
And we'll put that, guys listening, we'll put that all in the show notes, and there'll be a direct link there. You can just go right to the website and look further. You can sign up for the daily devotion and other things like that. So, well, listen, Vince, thanks so much for taking the time to be with us today. This has been extremely helpful. I just think about, guys getting ready now to start new groups in the fall, and this is going to be perfect timing for them as they prepare, maybe for the first time, to lead a group. But I think we've given them some great stuff. So
thank you. It, man. Thank you so much for having me. And let's get those guys launched, right? Get them moving.
That's the goal. That is the goal. So on behalf of Vincent and myself, we want to thank you so much for listening today and being a part of the podcast. And again, if you liked it, just share it with some other your group leaders. If you're a leader at a church, just get this thing out to all your small group leaders. They will be better leaders as a result of listening to this podcast. So have a great week, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you for joining the No Regrets Leadership Podcast. For more information and to access past recordings, please visit www.menwithnoregrets.org/podcast.